Hello, welcome to an exciting, well for me anyways, mail opening day. So in here is a package, or is an item I've been waiting to get my hands on and to open for quite a while. And with any luck, this brings me that much, very close to completing my unlimited slash beta Power 9 set. What's inside? Yeah, with this now, this card, I'm only, for the moment, one card away. As you guys know who've watched my other videos, one of the Power 9 cards I received, the Beta Mox Jet, was actually inked, and unfortunately the seller and I of that were not able to come to a resolution. I made what I considered a very fair, almost too fair offer to as a compensation for the inking, like $200 difference I think I was asking versus the HP, just to get it done and get my set done. But they actually wanted the card back overall, and they're in the process of sending me back 30 something cards I had traded for it. Mox Emerald. So yeah, they were quite adamant they'd prefer to get the cards, to reverse the deal and such, and you know, that is someone's option. It doesn't always work out the way you want to in a trade or in a purchase, and you still have to stay respectful. They were respectful about it too, and it's just that was what they preferred to do, and I was fine with that. They said that they wanted to take that card, had been purchased in Europe from a reputable vendor, and they want to take it back, and they want to seek some compensation for it being inked, I guess. So in the end, it kind of puts me in a worse situation for having spent my time, you know, cards and such trading. But again, that's not a perfect world. It's not like going into a store and just buying whatever you want to buy. Like there's stuff that comes with it, the cards, trading, buying, whatever. But anyway, here I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting this to be just a HP kind of damaged Beta Mox Emerald. It's really beautiful. I'm so glad to have this card. Let me pull this out a bit more, you know. Here you go for you guys to see. So that's the back of the card, you know, and the two corners are dinged right over here. They're not soft though. This one's a little soft. I'm not too worried about it though. I'm sure it's going to be sleeve playable. And there you can see the front of it. You know, it's seen some play, but I can tell you, please don't notice my nasty finger there. I got it smashed between a brick and it's finally growing out. Yeah, so you know, otherwise the card is nice and flat, except for it has a little bit of a bend here, which I could easily fix, and I probably will. There's nothing, you know, no super huge crease down the middle or something. And because of a very good deal, I think I basically picked this up for the same price that I would probably pay for like an MP Unlimited Mox Emerald. So this is HP damaged, but it's a beta, and I'm a sucker for the black corners. I think beta's pretty special, being the other first limited edition set released by Wizards. So you know, I'm always going to choose the beta over the unlimited when I have the chance to anyway. And is the card inked? Hard to say, actually. It is hard to say. I'm going to look at it a little closer. Obviously, like with an HP card, it's often the wear. It's not like the other one though. The other one I looked at, that Mox Jet, and I knew right away it had been inked. With this one, I don't love though that it looks the way it does on the edge. But that could just be the play where I'm not going to make any snap judgment on it. Maybe I can show it to the camera as possible here. Oop. Does not seem to want to focus on the. You can kind of see it though, that the edge. I wonder if I can. There we go. Okay, now let's try to keep the edge in. No, it does not want to keep the edge in focus. If I keep my hand here, there you go. Okay, so now that my fingers are, you can actually see what I'm talking about. You see how the edge has that blackening on it there? And that's usually what you would look for when you're looking for signs of inking. That as I turn it over, you see how it's nice and white on the edge, except for right there. So that very possibly could be inking. Let's look at another side. This one is not so obvious. This is much lighter, so we'll get to focus on my finger again. Again, you can see black on the edge, much lighter than on the lower portion of the card. I'll look at the top. The top is a little, again, a little worse than the side, more like the bottom there. So you see on the top, as I turn it to the edge, that's the area I would check for inking, that and the bottom. First and foremost, those are the worst areas that look like they actually could have something going on there. I think that and then the other side again, the side of this card the other side doesn't have nearly so much suspicious anything going off the edge. The edge looks pretty okay to me. You know, we'll do our regular tests, other authentication tests now. Because it's an old card, it's HP, and it's got some messed up corners. So what you should always do then next is, if you're buying a card at this level, is you should have a 3-point scale, which I do right here. We'll put it on a flat surface. We'll fire it up, and this is a 50-gram calibrating weight here, so we can just make sure that it does respond and say that that's 50 grams to the 0.000 grams. And then we should put this on, and we should find that it weighs about 1.74 grams, thereabouts. And it does, 1.747, totally, so 745, this is 1.74, it's right on for weight, that's perfect. So I'm immediately less concerned about the potential of a reback on the card. And I don't check a card for being a reback just because of who sells it to me or anything. It can be the most trustworthy person selling it. And a very good reback might fool somebody, or just that they've never looked for that, didn't consider the possibility, and there could be a surprise there. And I do know that happening. At least I've seen people try to sell rebacks, not realizing, I'm sure honestly not realizing they were such, and then someone will notice something about either the way the mana symbol is aligned or other alignment issues on the card that can indicate it's actually a collector's edition card. But yeah, so as for the edges, you know, again here, I'll do the bottom one more time just so you can see it. And maybe I'll try to use something other than my like gnarly finger. Let's see if it can get it to focus on this card. No, I guess it's just gnarly finger. There's no choice. Okay, so yeah, you see right about just in from the corner on both sides, there's this area there where it's not white anymore. In fact, it's kind of darkened. And then on the other side, it's more so. Even the top is the worst. You can see there's a couple of areas where it just really looks quite dark, like a dot. You know, see from starting from the left to the right, there's a little bit of shading, then there's a dot, then there's another dot right over there, series of dots, and then way out of focus, come on, there we go. And then by the time you get to the end, it's quite dotty and dark. And I can get another HP card, I think the best way also to compare is like, let's get another card that's HP, that's beta, to see if that's what other beta cards look like when they're played hard. Like somebody could obviously say, hey, that's not inking, that's a well played card, and so that's just what it ends up looking like. Well, I have a few beta high play cards, and I think I'll just pull one out. Okay. We'll get this tape and stuff out of the way, this protector out of the way, and let's put this somewhere fairly safe. I'm going to put it over here on my microscope. That's the last place that we'll really examine it for inking. There we go. I've got some alphas, some betas in here, and we'll look at a card that's seen a lot of love and a lot of play. This one maybe is a good example. Maybe not that one. That one's a little bit more, it's actually even more chewed up, like it's missing a component on the edges. What should I use here? Well, we could go, I don't really mind. I can take out my word of command. It's not really as, I could also take out my Royal Assassin here. It's not really as played though, unfortunately. It's not a direct apples to apples comparison. But anyways, it gives the idea. So, does this one have, yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's fair. Okay, so there's my Royal Assassin. And we'll put these two cards beside each other. I've never done it like this before. I'm trying to find a way to hold these two cards and alternate between them. Okay, so that's, first card is the Emerald, the closest card as you can see, and that's what the edge kind of looks like. The second card is the Royal Assassin. So definitely see quite a difference there in the blackening, or the amount of blackening on there. And so you see the way that the black looks on the edge of this card compared to what does it look like on the end of this card. Obviously very, very different there. So that's not super great to see that this one that I've just received does look to have some sort of issue. If again, this is more of a near mint card though, near mint minus I would have said. So it's not really a totally, actually it is labeled near mint, but anyway, I don't think it's a totally near mint card. I think it's got a couple of flaws looking at it more closely. That there. See if I can find a better comparison from the same era, because that Chaos Orb is really, maybe I'll pull out this Triskelion. Actually, this Triskelion is maybe a better example to look at. Let's see what that looks like. It's HP as well. The only reason I'm not so keen to pull out the Chaos Orb is it is pretty messed up, and to be honest, I think that the Chaos Orb has actually been inked, so it's a very poor example to show. I'll show you the Chaos Orb if you want to see it. This is a high play Chaos Orb. And when you look at the edge of it, so if you want to compare apples to apples, I mean, this is a card that I'm quite sure did get inked in the day. Yeah, here, like maybe I can show it. And then if you actually want to look, yeah, see, I want to show a card that wasn't inked, and that's kind of the example I want to go with. But this Chaos Orb, I've never confirmed it as inked. I didn't really talk to the person I bought it from, and I kind of accepted it, the condition it came in. Let's get to focus on the Chaos Orb. So you can see this card here has pretty telltale signs that it's been inked. On the side, you can see that quite a bit there. And then over here as well, there's inking there. So it's like this is a more inked card, and this is a card I would say is inked. Look at the Emerald by contrast again. It has exactly the same telltale signs of inking. It looks dark up at the top, right along the white edge. And let's look at the Chaos Orb. The Chaos Orb is just a worse example of the same thing. But you can see the similarities in the top edges here right away, right? So that's another contrasting comparison. This is a high played card that was inked and then played even more, and it's more played, I would say, than the Emerald, although it doesn't have any creases, but it's, you can see it's shuffled down quite a bit, and more wear on the back if possible. So it's had that happen, and a lot of the inking has worn off, but not all of it, and that's why you can still see dotting and stuff like that here. Oops. On the edge, there's both of them together. So Chaos Orb is in front, and it looks, it kind of looks like a worse version. That's the orb in the Mox is in the back, then the Mox looks like a worse version of the Chaos Orb, which is inked. And look at the Triskelion, which is also high play. And I don't believe this one is inked. In fact, it got graded pretty rough. But it, it does have a messed up corner down here, so I guess it just has to be high play. And these are all high play cards. So if we look at the top on the Triskelion, if we can, you see right away how it doesn't have that same blackness at the top. Right away, as soon as you go down and see the Mox edge is very different. The Mox edge looks inked. And we could take it to the bottom. I can show you the Triskelion bottom. You see the bottom of the Triskelion. You see how it's nice and white? It's underneath the Mox. And the Mox on top, actually, you can see the blackness of what is potentially inking. So those are like some simple comparisons I could show you guys and anyone watching how to check for inking. You can compare it to a card you know to be inked in a similar condition, or at the inking occurred in the same way, kind of like early on, and then it got played more. Another way, and what we'll also do, is we'll look at it under my microscope. So I'll take this down here and get the light on. There, 1 bar of light, and let's move it over here. So this microscope, I think we're in the range of about 200 times right now, thereabouts, maybe a little less. So I'll look at the top of the card. And we'll just try to slide around here. Sliding off my scope here. Let's get it back on. Actually, let's look at what's the area we want to look at here, so we can just focus. So the area that we want to look at, man, just there you go, pretty bad on the focus. Okay, and it's more easily seen, I believe it's more easily noticed from the back. So let's go with the back and let's try again. Okay. See if maybe it's gonna want, the card's gonna want to not sit flat on here. I'm gonna see if maybe one level more brightness might help a bit more. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay. So those are the areas we are thinking there is inking, right there, for instance. It's almost impossible to hold the microscope and look directly vertically down on the card. It's not going to be able to do that. Maybe it is better from the front. I'm going to try this corner from the front here. Okay, flipped it around, starting from the corner over there with the broken corner and heading this way. So that's what we think is inking. That little area there, where see how it's worn down everywhere else, and this part still remains. I can try to actually focus my microscope at an angle, and I think I'll do that in a subsequent video, and see if we can look right on edge at the areas where we think there could be inking. I mean, I handle a lot of these old cards. I'm pretty used to finding cards that have ink, and a lot of people won't realize there's ink on their cards, especially if the ink was very old. Now, the other thing I've yet to order is one of those UV lights. I don't have one here. I'm going to try the bottom side now, see if it's a little easier to tell. There you go. So those are, again, that little, see after the white, where there's staining after the white, we're thinking that might be ink. It may not be, but that's what I would be looking at if I was evaluating, and I am evaluating this card. So maybe we can get a little more light. Well, anyway, I'm going to try to get a more optimal setup to look at the card. I have a UV light that is on order, just because I think it will make it easier to definitively say a lot of times if there's inking or not, because the Sharpie and marker and such and whitening react differently to the UV light than does the cardstock. So it's a quicker, easier way and more visual for somebody watching. There again, that's the areas where we think there's de-inking, or one of them. It's more easy to kind of like share that information in that way. So thanks for tuning in. I'm still pretty happy about getting the Mox. You know, if it is inked, it's something I should, you know, realistically do need to mention to the seller. Yeah, you can, and there you go. So I'm focusing in, and you can kind of see that dotting right on the top there, and it's passing right through the white of the edge. And that's the kind of stuff you should look at if you're ever trying to evaluate a card for ink. That's the telltale sign. Turn it to the edge and look for black areas where there should be white. Okay, and it's not like it's different than, let's say, dirt, because dirt will make it brown or discolor it, but it won't be so black, and it tends to not be concentrated in a few spots like that. You know, the card will generally just be dirtier along a full edge, and evenly so, rather than just, you know, in one spot. Now, anything is possible, so I'm not saying it couldn't be that way, but generally it's not that way. Generally, dirt is just ubiquitously spread across the card or across an edge, and it's when you see it in a particular concentration in one spot that's what stands out, and that's what you should look at. All right, well, thanks a lot for watching this mail opening video and the whole process of inspecting a card for authenticity and for other issues. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer anything you guys want to know. From my own experience, if I don't know the answer, I promise to make something up that sounds good. Cheers, bye.